Good morning, everyone. My name's Lynn. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. Today I'm going to talk about a couple of books that I picked up during the selection process on a video called COVID Confusion. Here's Clarabelle. So I had picked two books that I thought would be a little more entertaining than literary challenges. I just needed something that wasn't too down in the dumpish. So picked up two that I had here in the house because there's no shopping. The one that I was really looking for, Little White Lies. Do that again. Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second book in, I think it's just going to be two books. The first one was Little White Lies. And this one I really loved. This was with my Woozles book club last year, and it was my top pick of the 12 books that we read. It's sort of a Southern girl debutante mystery of who's my daddy because she's illegitimate, and a mystery story involving the same protagonists, but a father doing all kinds of illegal things and a vengeful daughter, and all these characters come together. The main protagonist, Sawyer, is the daughter of one of these older generations, debutantes, who's gone astray. She's definitely the black sheep. So her grandmother brings her back into the fold. There's certain conditions that Sawyer has to make in order to get her education paid for. So multiple different kinds of, I guess, typical girly things, except not everybody's looking for their daddy. So she figures it out, more or less, but what's missing in the first story is that Sawyer's mom had been in a pact with two other girls to get pregnant as a way of escaping their small townness. And one of the girls in that generation lost the baby, and the other girl did become pregnant, but had not revealed who the father of her child was. And in this book, Deadly Little Scandals, Sawyer is determined that she's going to find that child. I don't really know what drove that. I mean, that was just morbid curiosity in a way. And some of the same tricks come forward in that instead of doing a debutante year, she is doing what's called the White Glove Society. She's been invited to this society along with her cousin Lily. And again, the similar protagonists all kind of come in and play a role, this time at the Lakeside Cottage. It involves boats and ski jets, and the White Glove Society, which is sort of a sorority kind of thing, except it's not connected to a sorority or a university. It's just a kind of a girls' club, and you belong to it during your university years, but then when you graduate university, you have to find a replacement. So there are multiple girls who are being, I don't know what that sorority word is when they're trying to figure out which of the initiates they're going to. It's not hazing, but whatever it is they do. Having never been to a sorority, I have no idea. So this one, really, I think as much as I was looking forward to it, I thought just disappointed completely. Some of the protagonists that come forward and take center stage, I'm a little confused by. There's a character called Victoria that just there's a reason she's there, but it doesn't make a ton of sense. It's just one of those 3 degrees of separation. She's a character that's tertiary that becomes primary and then goes back to tertiary. And Aunt Olivia in this book is actually the sort of nemesis, I guess. Before it was all these men who were potentially Sawyer's father. The buzzer's going to ring in a second because there's granola coming out of the oven. So the plot didn't make a ton of sense. As much as I liked the writing, and as much as I still liked Sawyer and her cousin Lily, it was just back and forth and all over without a whole heck of a lot of motivation. I guess that was the part that I just never really bought into in the second book, was why they were searching for this missing baby, who is, of course, wouldn't be a baby anymore. She'd be 18 years old, and why that was such a priority. And it just didn't, it wasn't tight, it wasn't focused. There were characters in there that I felt were love them and leave them kind of thing. They could have stayed in the first book. So I'm still love the first book, and I'm going to give this one, what did I give it? Let's see, Goodreads gave it a 4.5, and I'm giving it a 2, which is, wow, what a lot of difference. The second book that I picked up in that COVID confusion book search is Rogue Princess by Bethany Myers. Bethany Myers is a local writer to me. Lives in Halifax, and I did not clue into this. At one point she was in one of my book clubs, but she had to, busy woman. So she has written a number of different books, which I had not clued into. Let me see, she's won, where is it? The Canadian Children's Book Centre's Best Book for Teens in 2016. With Girl on the Run, singular. So I'm going to pick that up as soon as the library opens, and I really enjoyed this. This one was a surprise. It's the Cinderella story turned spacey, gender switching. It has not spaceships, I'm sorry, like, oh, I guess they're like ski-doos, but they're in the air. I don't know what those are called, gliders. And the Princess Delia, I think that's how I was pronouncing it in my head, Delia, D-E-L-I-A. She has to choose from amongst 7 different princes, and from different planets around her main planet. She lives on the planet Astor, which is the kind of pivotal and largest and most successful planet in the group. I might have said islands. Did I say islands? Oh, anyhow, she has to choose one of these fellas to make a marriage, political alliance. The power sources are diminishing on her planet, so she's got to figure out who to marry that's going to help with generating an economy that's going to allow for enough, either the energy source itself or some kind of economy boost to pay for the energy. And so it's that whole dilemma of choosing a stranger to be your husband, and in comes Aiden, who is a kitchen staff, and they manage to have some pretty peculiar adventures, and they definitely are outside the palace, outside the princess role, and that's really a lot of fun. And the story has quite a lot of dynamism as you go, but then there's a certain point where you think, oh my gosh, is she just never going to get over this indecision about who to choose? And just as I'm starting to get bored and thinking, wow, I thought this was a good book, and now I'm just really not loving it. And just as I'm coming to the point where I'm thinking, maybe I'll forget it, a twist turn comes out of nowhere. But then when you see it, you think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a whole new dilemma around the choosing of a husband, and it just becomes a lot more exciting. The only failing I had with this book, or the only thing I felt was a failing, was just as the adventure is getting really rip-roaring towards the end, it gets solved lickety-split. And we've spent so much time, about 90% of the book, coming up to this crisis at the end that this is, most of the time I think a book can lose 50 to 100 pages. I think this one could have gained by 50 to 100 pages. It comes in at, well, it's just under 300, so maybe 50 pages to just explore the whole crisis at the end of it. It just wrapped up, and it was a little bit like a panto play where this character that you haven't seen from Act 1 kind of comes back on in order to be able to take a bow at the end of the play. I felt that this was too rushed at the end, and I would have liked to have seen, there's an adventure in a tunnel, and there's an adventure in the throne room, and so I think that could have just gone a little bit longer. What was the other thing I was going to say? The cat distracted me. Oh, my girlfriend, she is a playwright, and she does quite often the Christmas pantomime. Pardon me. I'll have to learn how to edit that piece out, maybe. So she takes fairy tales and rewrites them for children at Christmas time. And this is a great candidate. We've already fooled around with other fairy tales. Sometimes I've helped out with the productions. And since it's basically Cinderella, it would be very easy to adapt to stage. So I'm going to try and encourage my girlfriend to connect with Bethany and see if it can be turned into a play. I think that it would make a terrific, terrific children's play. Not children's, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I think it would be in all ages. That's what the pantomime does, is it's all ages. And I think there's just something in here for everyone, especially some of the smarty pants things that this rogue Princess Delia gets up to. So I believe I gave it a 4 out of 5-star rating, and I think Goodreads and I were pretty much in agreement with that. Well, I hope that all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.